To be here this evening. Go ahead and get this up here. All right, make sure everybody can see my screen. It's green, so it all looks the same to me. Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Lacey Fons, and I am the Lucky Dual Enrollment Coordinator assigned to support Prince William County students and families. So tonight we're going to cover all of the various opportunities for students to earn dual enrollment credit. And of course, we will have time for Q&A. So let's dive right in. So let's talk a little bit about what dual enrollment is. So we have both what we call dual enrollment and co-enrollment programs under the Office of Dual Enrollment at Northern Virginia Community College. And so to explain those a little bit further, dual enrollment classes are going to be classes that you can take and earn credit both at the college and at the high school for the same class. Co-enrollment classes are going to be classes that you can basically enroll in a college class while you're also a high school student, whether that gives you credit at both college and, the college and the high school is dependent, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So on the screen here, you see that we have 4 types of dual enrollment / co-enrollment opportunities under the Office of Dual Enrollment. And so we're going to break those down and go into detail one by one. So the first one we'd like to talk about is contract dual enrollment. Now, contract dual enrollment is the opportunity to take classes for both high school and college credit within the walls of your high school in Prince William County schools. You are going to be completing these courses following your high school's academic calendar because, again, you're taking them within the walls of your high school. Now, how do you do that? Well, these courses are taught by your high school instructors, but the high school instructors teaching the contract classes are also credentialed by Northern Virginia Community College. So they have been vetted so that we confirm that they meet the same criteria of the instructors that would be teaching if you took this class at Northern Virginia Community College on one of our campuses or through our online campus. Now, who qualifies to take the contract dual enrollment classes? Typically, we are looking for juniors and seniors, but we do have some cases where we accept underclass students, and it is on a case-by-case basis depending on the classes. We'll get into some more details about that later. But probably the best thing and what you want to hear more often than not is that this opportunity is free to you. So if you take these classes within the walls of the high school, you are not paying for the tuition, you are not paying for the books, you are not paying any fees. You are earning college credit completely free. And as you see here on the screen at this time, an in-state student is paying roughly $218 per credit. So you're easily saving over $500 per class if you take dual enrollment classes and earn those college credits. Now let's talk a little bit about the types of dual enrollment classes you can take as a contract student. So there are 2 types of classes that we offer. The first that we're going to talk about are what we refer to as transfer classes, or as I call them, our general education classes. So these are classes that are going to work towards either a certificate or an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree so that you're working towards ultimately getting that bachelor's. They're the courses that are going to work towards a 4-year college or degree eventually. So these are things like English composition, history, biology, pre-calculus. These are courses that if you don't take them as a dual enrollment student, there's a strong chance you're going to take them when you graduate and go on to college anyway. So that's half the fun of this, is that by taking some of these classes early on, you won't have to take them later. Now, the second type of courses that we offer are called our non-transfer classes, or as you may know them, our CTE, our career and technical education classes. And so these are classes that are really more skill building classes. These are courses that are typically going to work towards a certificate or an associate's degree so that you can go directly into the workforce rather than work towards a bachelor's degree. So as you see here, these are things like small business management or web design, early childhood education, welding. So we have a lot of different options available across Prince William County schools that you could consider whether you're interested in one or both of these categories. Now, as I mentioned, one of the benefits of taking dual enrollment courses is that you are avoiding duplication of work. So Ms. Brown is going to hear me say this a billion times. She hears me say it every time. I am a former college advisor. And so as a former college advisor, one of the common things I heard from students was, why do I have to take this class? I just took it in high school. And the answer is because everyone who goes to college has to fulfill the general education courses, or as you may hear it called the liberal arts or the core classes. And so, in taking dual enrollment classes, you can avoid having to take those classes again. You're taking that pre-calculus as a high school student, but earning the college credit for it at the same time before you graduate from high school. So I think that's one of the, most wonderful benefits of pursuing the dual enrollment classes. As we talked about, it lowers the cost of post-secondary education. So, for each of the classes that you take that work towards your ultimate goal, you are reducing the tuition that you have to pay. So, if you are thinking about getting a bachelor's degree, you are going to have to pay for at least 120 college credits. So, if you do the math on that, it is a good chunk of change. So, if you can save yourself and or your family money, and get started on that early, obviously that is going to be a great cost savings to you. The other one I like to talk about is just the transition. So, as I mentioned, I was an advisor, and for the bulk of my time as an advisor, I worked with incoming first time college students. And what I saw a lot of, and what a lot of, us advisors, saw then and still see today, is that going to college is a big transition. There are a lot of new things that you're going to experience. And if you can ease into some of those by taking dual enrollment classes, then that's going to help you be more successful when you go as a full time student on your own. So, for example, with dual enrollment classes, you are going to be learning how to navigate some of those college policies because while the class is offered within the walls of your high school, it is managed by the college policies. So you'll have to abide by the drop deadlines or withdrawal deadlines. You'll have to work through the request process. And so it helps you warm up to that little by little rather than just jumping right into that cold pool like sometimes sometimes you do as a freshman, when you just go straight off to college. So just a couple of things to consider when it comes to why you might want to or may not want to pursue dual enrollment. There's no right or wrong answer. So speaking of, I like to talk to you all about the dual and dual enrollment, which I also lovingly refer to sometimes as the growing pains of dual enrollment. So let's talk a little bit about some of these things here. So as I mentioned, warming up to being a college student, you can do so with dual enrollment because, again, it is managed by the college policies. And so some of the things that are important to know is when you start taking dual enrollment classes, you are starting your official college transcript. So, whether your goal is to continue at Northern Virginia Community College when you graduate high school or go elsewhere, your transcript is permanent and will go with you, whether you come to Nova, whether you go elsewhere. So, it's really important to be aware of that and be on top of that to know that if you do take dual enrollment classes and maybe you find that it is more challenging or that you need a little extra support, that grade is coming and that grade is going to be final on your transcript. So you've got to make that effort to get the support you need and follow up on any resources. All of the resources are available. We'll get there. But it's just important to note that there are going to be two grade books. So you'll have your Nova grade, which is on your permanent college transcript, and you'll have your high school grade potentially for the same class. So let's talk about that just a moment. So I don't say this to offend any districts, but there are some grading policies in the high school districts that don't necessarily apply when you go off to college. And so one of those is that in college, you do earn a zero if you don't do your work. And so in a dual enrollment class, if there was a chance where you did not turn in an assignment, it is possible that you would get a zero for that assignment if there was not a makeup option or a late policy option. Whereas on the high school side, I believe you get a 50. Don't quote me if that's changed, but I do believe that there is a number you get that is not a zero. And so that can make for two different grades between what you've got at the high school and what you have at the college for your dual enrollment class. So that is one of those policies that's important to know. And again, something you can ease into. As I mentioned earlier, there are going to be different deadlines. So, as I said, if things aren't going well, if you find that maybe it's not a good fit, there are opportunities to remove yourself from the class. So, the first opportunity to do so is going to be the opportunity to drop the class. Now, in college, when you drop a class, you are removing it from your transcript. It never happened and it is erased, it's not there anymore. Um, if you miss the drop deadline and then find that, again, it's not going well, it's not a good fit, something happens, you will have an opportunity to withdraw from the class that you're taking. Now, when you withdraw from a class, that is still going to show that you attempted the class on your college transcript by showing a W as your grade. But the difference between a W and either an A, B, C, D, or F is that the W is not calculated into your GPA. It simply shows that you attempted the course, but it saves your GPA from being impacted if that course wasn't going well for you. Now, students are going to be responsible to pursue the formal withdrawal process if that is something that they want to do. So again, warming up to learning how, the college procedures and policies go and following those is another way that you'll do that. Another growing pain that we'd like to talk about is student and parent involvement in dual enrollment classes. So I love to quote my former director. I understand that there is a student view and there is a parent view on the high school side. At Nova, there is a MyNova, and that's that. And the MyNova is the student account. So when it comes to the dual enrollment classes, it's important that you as a student are advocating for yourself if you need support, because your parent will not have access to see what is due, what you missed, what's upcoming, anything along those lines. They do not have access to the account. In that same breath, if you want to share information with them, you can, but they're not going to be able to call on your behalf and have those conversations. So again, dual enrollment classes are really an opportunity to practice advocating for yourself. If that's something that you want to build on or work on, this is an opportunity for you to do so. And then the last one that's really important to know is the accommodations and accessibility procedures. So if you have an IEP or a 504 that you use for your high school classes, you are able to request accommodations to get support with your Nova College classes as well. But that's the difference is that you do have to request that through Nova. The DE teacher will not be able to accept the IEP or the 504 outright and use that towards the dual enrollment class. Part of the reason for that is that at the college level, we do not fundamentally alter the curriculum of the class. Rather, we would work with you to put supports in place to help you be successful, but the curriculum, again, will not be altered as it sometimes is at the high school level. Which I got ahead of myself. And so we can talk a little bit about that just a moment. I've given too many presentations this week. It's all still here. But so basically, if you are interested in pursuing the accommodations at the college, the process does begin online. So you would complete an application, which you see here. We've got our link. And so you would complete the application, and we encourage you to complete that as soon as possible. So if you are working with your counselor in the next couple of weeks or months, because I know it's a process, to select classes for next year, and you know that you are selecting dual enrollment classes and that you are interested in having accommodations in those classes, then I would encourage you to complete that accommodations request before you leave for summer. As soon as you can, go ahead and get that started. Now, what will happen is when you complete that request, you are going to work with one of our accommodations counselors to set up a meeting, which are typically offered via Zoom because we know everybody is all over the place in Northern Virginia. So you would set up a meeting with the accommodations counselor. And during that meeting, they are going to discuss the potential accommodations available to you. And they are going to set up what we call the Memorandum of Accommodations, or the MOA, which is our version at the college level of the IEP or 504. So that's what it would be the MOA. Once you get that MOA, it is your responsibility as the college student to provide that to your instructors so that you are able to use the accommodations outlined in the MOA. So it's important that you, again, we always advocate for ourselves. That's a big piece here. So you're going to advocate for yourself by providing that MOA to the instructor, and it will be available to you from that point forward. If you do not provide the MOA to the instructor, then you are not able to use those accommodations, and they will not be retroactive once you do if there's a delay. Okay. So let's keep it moving. So let's talk a little bit about what the eligibility criteria are in order to take dual enrollment classes. So as I mentioned, we have two types of classes, the transfer classes and the CTE classes. So as you see here on the screen, we have it broken down between the two. The major difference is the GPA requirement. So in order to take a transfer course, you would need to have a minimum cumulative high school GPA of a 3.0. In order to take a CTE course, you need a minimum cumulative GPA of a 2.0. And again, this is for juniors and seniors. If you do not have one of those GPAs, but you're still interested, then you would see if you meet the eligibility criteria using the test scores. Now, the test scores are the same for transfer and CTE courses. It's only the GPA that is a little bit different. And then what would happen is if you do not meet one of these criteria, either the GPA, PSAT, SAT, or ACT, then we would provide you the option to take the placement test. Now, the Virginia placement test is going to be for English. You would need to attend the college to take that placement test in person. And you do need to work with me directly to set that up because the college does not offer placement testing in general for students any longer. So we would work together to make sure that you set up an appointment and you have permission to pursue that placement test. Now, students are required to place into our English 111 college composition class without any developmental requirements in order to be eligible to take either type of course. So that's what we would aim for you to do if you don't have the GPA or test scores as listed here on the screen. Now, if you were, a freshman or sophomore, then we would be looking for you to potentially have a 0.25 increase on the GPA to be considered for the classes that you may qualify for as an underclassman. And that would be a 3.25 or a 2.25 high school GPA. So you would have to have some high school credit. So if you're coming in as a freshman, it's a little harder since not everybody has taken classes that count towards your high school transcript just yet. But again, it would be a 0.25 increase that would be required for the GPA if we were looking to consider you as an exceptional underclassman. And then the last one is in terms of the prerequisites and co-requisites. If your school offers dual enrollment math or dual enrollment science, we would also need to verify that you've met the criteria either from the prior math courses and certain grades within math courses to qualify for the science or math courses available to you. And we would let you know we could walk through all those exact details, but because there are so many, I didn't want to overload the slide. All right, so I've got your attention. You're interested. Now, what do you do? So, what you are going to do is talk to your high school counselor. So, each school across Prince William County has dual enrollment classes, but they may not have the same exact dual enrollment classes. So, it's important that you talk to your high school counselor to find out what classes are offered in your high school and if they align with the remaining requirements you have to earn your high school diploma. If so, then next step is to determine, do you meet the eligibility criteria? If you don't, let's set up some placement testing if you're motivated and interested in pursuing that. And then you will complete the three-step registration process. Now, something that is very important to know is that for students interested in taking contract classes at their high schools next year under dual enrollment, you are going to be responsible to complete the three-step registration process no later than Friday, May 2nd, 2025. And we'll talk about what that process is. So, in order to be provided credit by Northern Virginia Community College, you must be a Northern Virginia Community College student. So that requires that you apply to the college. So your first step in the three-step registration process is to apply to NOVA and to obtain your EMPLID, which is your student ID number at the college, and your username. So as you work through the application, there are 5 or 6 roughly sections of the application you're going to work through. Once you work through those and submit your application, that is where you are going to get, as I call it, the magical yellow box. That will include your EMPLID and your username. You will keep that in a safe place, whether you want to take a picture, you want to write it down, whatever the case is. It is important to hold on to those details because you are then going to create a dual enroll student account. That account is where you are going to create a profile, and it will be where you select the classes you want to take as a contract dual enrollment students for the foreseeable future. So when you are in that dual enroll account, we are going to ask that you identify which high school you go to. You are going to identify your high school counselor so that they can be available to provide your qualifying scores. you will need to include information for your parent or legal guardian so that we can get parent consent because you are not able to take college classes without parent consent. And then finally, once you complete both profiles, you are going to be able to select the courses that you are interested in taking. Now, let me be clear when I say this because you can click on all the buttons that are available in there, but we have to qualify or make sure that you qualify for each of the classes you've selected. And so, no matter what you do when you request these in the portal, I will not be able to enroll you in the class until I confirm that you have parent consent, that you qualify for the class, and that you are on the roster when I receive rosters from the high school in August. Okay. So just want to make that clear that you can select everything and maybe you will qualify for everything and you can take everything and that's great. But I just want to be clear that you can hit all the buttons, but we've got to make sure that you have all three of those in line before you would actually be able to be enrolled in the class. Okay. So again, forgive me. This slide has an old date on it, but the important thing is that it is Friday, May 2nd, 2025. In one moment, I'm going to pass the mic over to Kelly Brown for a second.
So no, sorry, that I was just telling you about the date, Lacey.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Forgive me.
That's the only reason I have my hand up.
Thank you. All right. So forgive me. I missed that one. So Friday, May 2nd, 2025 is the deadline for this year. So we're just going to skip right past that for a moment. Okay. So next up, we want to talk a little bit about the additional opportunities available to you within Prince William County Schools for dual enrollment. And so I start by sharing this dual enrollment in action slide because I just want to emphasize, how serious dual enrollment is and how important it is to the state of Virginia, so much so that they are working on building these partnerships and ensuring that we are building these opportunities for students to earn certificates through dual enrollment while they are still in high school. So if you've not heard of the Passport or the Uniform Certificate of General Studies, I'm going to share some information about those tonight as we go through some of the additional opportunities available to you. So as I mentioned, there are a couple of things available to you that you can work towards as a dual enrollment student. So the Passport and the Uniform Certificate of General Studies are two opportunities that were created that are basically, the goal is that you can maximize the number of credits that will be accepted if you do not earn an associate's degree prior to going to a four-year school. So the Passport is 16 credits. It's 5 classes, and it's really, again, back to that everybody takes general education or liberal arts classes, no matter the major. So those are 5 classes that are going to fill those general education course buckets that you would need as you're working towards a bachelor's degree, if that's what you're interested in. And then the same goes for the Uniform Certificate of General Studies. So the UCGS is roughly the equivalent to your first year of college. So if you were a full-time student, your first year, fall and spring, then you would be taking, anywhere between 12 and 15 credits each semester. You'll be working through your English composition, your history, maybe your government, math, science, and that's exactly what you would do as you work towards earning the Uniform Certificate of General Studies. So as you see here, all courses that you take would be transferable and will satisfy the lower level general education requirements at any Virginia public institution of higher education. The exception, VMI does not participate. But outside of that, again, former advisor, common question, will my credits transfer? Will my credits be accepted? And the answer is if you work towards these credentials, then the answer is yes, that they are accepted and they will reduce the total number of credits that you need to graduate. That being said, you must earn a C or better for them to count. So that is one of the requirements. And then lastly, it's important to point out that, you may hear about things like guaranteed admission agreements. And just to know that the Passport and UCGS do not necessarily guarantee admission to any schools, but they do guarantee that the credits will be accepted. So that's the important difference. Now, I also added here the associate's degree and bachelor's degree bubbles because it's important to see how these build. So I have students that are working towards earning the Uniform Certificate of General Studies right now as they approach their high school graduation. And they can take that. And if they want to, they can work towards earning an associate's degree with, half of their credits already completed through the UCGS. or they can take it right on to the 4-year and work on completing the remaining credits to get to that 120. But all of these can be building blocks if that's something that you see yourself doing. And so again, an example, this is the Uniform Certificate of General Studies. So something I think that makes a huge difference to help you understand. So it's 11 classes in total that you would need to take to fulfill the Uniform Certificate of General Studies. Now, if your high school offers DE English Composition, which sometimes is the equivalent of English 11 or English 12, just depends on the school, that would be the equivalent of English 111 and English 112. So you're taking one high school class and walking out with 6 credits of college credit, or excuse me, 6 college credits by taking one class. The same goes for if you take your 11th grade history as dual enrollment, that satisfies your history elective because it's, it fulfills the history bucket with the US history. Now, if your school offers, I know there's some schools that have biology or environmental science under DE, that would satisfy this one here. If you have dual enrollment government as a senior at your school, that would be taken care of here. So just a couple of examples of how that would fit and the ways that you can work towards this. Now, there aren't any schools, I will tell you just ahead of time, there are not any schools within Prince William County that allow you to take every class and earn this completely within the walls of the school, but you can get pretty close. And then if you wanted to take advantage of some other opportunities to finish it, or you could pay out of pocket to finish it, there are definitely ways to get close. So keep that in mind. All right, now again, back to will my credits be accepted? So if you are taking dual enrollment classes and you do not earn a credential before you graduate, that's okay too. We don't want you to feel that extra pressure that you have to work towards one of those for these classes to count for you, because that's not necessarily the case. Dual enrollment credits do transfer to most colleges and universities in the state of Virginia. What I will tell you always is that if it is a private school or if it is an out-of-state school, you want to double check and see what their resources say. They have the flexibility to choose, whereas when we work with the Virginia public schools, we typically have agreements that say yay or nay, that credits will be accepted. And as you see here, all colleges have specific policies regarding their credit. So while we say, generally speaking, you need a C or better to take the credit with you, we have seen some exceptions where they accept Ds. We've seen that that's not necessarily what students want either, but so it's important that you look, at the schools that you're interested in to find out what their policies are regarding credit. And so the other one I like to point out is that courses accepted can vary by major. So again, if you earn that credential, they do take that as we call it our bucket. They'll take your bucket of classes and they give you those 32 credits that will reduce your general education requirements. But depending on the major you're focused on, if there are lower level classes you need to take that are specific to your major, that will not override those requirements. So for example, I studied criminal justice when I was an undergrad and I wanted to go be a lawyer. Well, I still had to take Intro to Criminal Justice as a first year, and I had to take criminal law my second year. So those are things that are not going to be waived by taking those gen ed courses. You're still going to have to do those courses specific to your major. All right. And then last but not least, there is a lot of information on the website about how classes are going to be accepted. But just so you know, the standard practice is that they will not give absolute confirmation of which classes that will be accepted towards your degree until you're accepted to their school. So I just want to be open and upfront as a former admissions counselor. There are so many students that are asking those questions and they can only do so much. So they typically will only give that guaranteed evaluation detail once you are accepted to their university. So you want to use all the resources available in general on their website. Okay, let's talk about some more opportunities now. So as I mentioned, it is not possible to earn a full credential within the walls of the high schools, but there are additional opportunities available. And one of those is called early online college. So early online college is available to juniors and seniors each fall and spring semester. These classes are online, offered asynchronously. So they are not Zoom-based, they are fully asynchronous. And they are tuition-free to students, but you as the student are responsible for textbooks and materials if they are required for the course. So as a junior and senior in Prince William County Schools, you are eligible to take up to 2 classes from a prescriptive list of courses that we've chosen each semester. That would be, excuse me, you can take up to 2 classes each fall and spring as a junior and senior. They are from a prescribed list, and that list is geared towards working on your general education requirements again. So your English, your math, your science, your social science, your humanities, those types of classes. So we try to mix up the classes that are available each fall and spring so that students can take advantage. Because if you do the math for just a moment, if you take 2 as a junior fall and spring and 2 as a senior fall and spring, that's 8 classes you could potentially get tuition free. So that is something that you could consider doing. So just a heads up, the registration for this spring semester has already closed, but we typically open the registration for the fall early in the summer, and then we open the spring registration around October. So look out for information each June and October roughly for the following semester. And this is the moment where I am going to turn it over to Ms. Brown for a second to talk about potential credit for these.
Sorry, I was typing as I was listening and
Oh,
answering questions. So Prince William does offer college, or I'm sorry, high school credit for some of the courses that are available through early online college. We list all of that information on our website, pwcs.edu/advanced academics, and it will show you which credits can be used. Many times these credits are going to be elective credits. And there's directions on our website. There is a form that you'll need to fill out with your counselor in order for that information to be added to your college transcript. One of the things that I always share with families regarding early online college, this is an agreement between you and Nova. This is not an agreement between Prince William County and you and Nova. This is something you can do it because you're in the school division, but this is specifically between you and Nova. So Ms. Founts does not give me a list every year and say, these are all the students who have taken these courses. That's information that, being it is a college course, you have to share that information back to the school system in order to receive those college credits.
correct. Yes. So just to add on to that, I cannot send Miss Brown a report to say, you know, these 25 students took these classes and they earned these grades. It's actually against the law for me to do that.
Yep.
So it will be your responsibility to follow up to provide those grades if you do want to pursue that credit. But my understanding too is that they have to submit the request to potentially get the credit before they start the class, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Thank you. And so that being said, if you are interested, again, as I mentioned, the registration, typically the details come out each June and October, roughly, but they follow a similar process. So if you had already started taking dual enrollment classes and you already have a NOVA application, then you've already got step 1 done. But then you are going to request these classes again through our dual enroll portal. So there's going to be a different drop down. Instead of having your high school available, it's going to have the early online college drop down, and that's where you would look at the classes that are available for that upcoming term and request those classes. Now, one of the big differences between taking the classes in your high school and taking the classes through early online college from the standpoint of your responsibility as the student is that you are going to be responsible to provide your transcript at the time that you apply for these classes. And the reason being is that in order for us to give you the scholarship to cover these classes, we have to verify that you are a current student in that district because it's county funds that actually cover the scholarship. So we have to verify a couple of things based on how we receive those funds to cover the classes. So again, it's your responsibility to submit that transcript. And if you don't, we will not call your counselor to get that information, and you will not be able to complete those classes. So I don't say that to be terrible, but I say it to let you know that, again, college is a step up in terms of responsibilities and advocating for yourself. So just a heads up that that will be something you'll need to do.
Yep,
Go
and
ahead, Ms.
again,
Brown.
it's the same thing. Yep, it's the same thing we talked about as far as the transferring of the credit. Ms. Founts does not give me a list of students, so I don't know what students need to have information uploaded. I can have students come to me and say, I need to get a transcript with this information on there, and I can help them get that transcript, but I can't go to Miss Founts and say, hey, who doesn't have a transcript? She does not have the authority to share that information with me.
Right. So, as I mentioned, another opportunity to take classes is what we refer to as independent dual enrollment. And so the major difference between the types of courses I've talked about already and this one is that you are responsible to cover all costs if you pursue independent coursework. So independent classes are available year round, so fall, spring, and summer. They are at a Nova campus, they are online, they are asynchronous, they are Zoom based, they are available in all kinds of formats. And so typically they are taken for college credit, but if you are looking to see if you can get them for high school credit as well, you would need to work again with your high school counselor to find out if that is available and what the process is. Again, when it comes to sharing information, there is a privacy factor as you start college classes. So we wouldn't be able to just send that information over to your high school. You would be responsible to do that and coordinate it. So as I mentioned, they are available year round. Juniors and seniors, again, are typically the ones that are able to pursue independent coursework and exceptional underclass students. Now, there are very few limitations as long as you meet the prerequisites for the courses. But oddly enough, you cannot take like physical education as an independent student. Some of the courses are set aside for the students that need them in different programs. But generally speaking, as long as you meet the prerequisites and the eligibility criteria, there is more flexibility in the classes you can take because obviously everything is offered at the campus and we can't always offer everything within the walls of the high school. So if there's something you don't have that you're interested in taking, you would be able to be considered for it, but you would be responsible to pay the standard tuition, cover the books and materials as needed for the course. So if you do think that this is something you're interested in and you want to look towards earning a credential, because we do have students that, pursue associate's degrees alongside or credentials, the certificates alongside their high school diploma, that is absolutely something you can do. And we do have staff that can help you look at how you can do that and the planning process. So as you see here, you can reach us at our standard email address, which is dualenrollment@nbcc.edu. And we'd be happy to make appointments with you. We do set up Zoom appointments to have those conversations to help you see if it is a possibility and what the options are available. Now, for independent dual enrollment, there is paperwork that you would need to complete. And it's all on our website. You do still, even though you're taking it potentially for college credit only, you are still going to be responsible to get permission and oversight from your high school counselor. So just know that you will need to have both your parents sign off on it and the high school still has to sign off on it before we can pursue enrolling you in those classes. Okay, last but not least, if you are a graduating senior this spring semester and you are considering coming to Nova in the fall semester, then we have a program called Jumpstart to Nova. And so this program is offered each summer semester to graduating seniors coming to Nova the following fall. They are asynchronous online classes, obviously available for college credit only because you just graduated, so you don't need any more high school credit. And they are tuition free, but again, you'll be responsible to pay for any books or materials that may be needed for the course that you choose. So as you see here, you can take a maximum of 2 courses, and those 2 courses include one 3 or 4 credit course, plus our 1 credit student development course. Also known as Welcome to College is the best way to describe it. It's College Success Skills is the official title of the course. And so that course plus 1 3 or 4 credit course that we have again from a prescribed list that we'll have available over the summer will be the options to pursue. So again, you'll follow the 3-step registration process. You'll always need to be a Nova student first and foremost, and then you'll go into the dual enroll portal and select the Jumpstart option to view the courses that are available. Now, our portal is not available or is not updated for this yet because we have not set up for summer, but keep an eye on things as we get closer to March. And you'll see the information both on our website and in the portal as we get that all set up for summer semester. So again, there are opportunities all the time. As you see here, a quick overview that you could potentially take classes within the walls of your high school each semester, your junior and senior year. You could also potentially take early online college classes each semester, junior, senior year. Independent dual enrollment is available year round, including summers. And then Jumpstart to Nova is available once you graduate if you're coming to Nova the following fall semester. So lots of opportunities to gather credits, tuition free. I can't say completely free, but tuition free if you are interested. So let's talk about a couple of resources. Again, I know this is a lot of information to take in. So a couple of things that are helpful are, if you are not sure what you want to study or you're still exploring that, we have our college catalog has all of the programs available at Nova, and it also shows each of the classes that you would be taking. So if you know that there's something that you're interested in studying and you know the classes that are available for you through dual enrollment in the various ways, you could see which ones you could take that might work. If that seems like a bigger puzzle than you're up for, again, we do this all day long. So set up an appointment with us so we can help make sense of it. The other thing to point out is that we do offer credit for prior learning. So that means that if you are taking an AP class or an IB class and you take the exams and you have scores to be considered, then if you look at our credit for prior learning manual, you can see roughly what those scores have offered credit for in the past and whether or not that's something you could use to work towards a credential if that's something you want to do. As a dual enrollment student, again, you are starting your official college transcript. So you are able to view your unofficial transcript on your account to see what your final grades are. And you can also order your official transcript if you need it when you're applying various places or submitting it for whatever reason you might need to. The other one I want to point out is some of our student resources. So each year as we do these various programs, our team offers webinars and we put recordings up. So we have a couple of recordings that might be useful to you. So there are a couple of recordings on accommodations process, on financial aid, on planning your degree and choosing courses. So if you're interested in any of that, we do have some recordings available from our sessions last year. And then on the same page, we have different tutorials. So if you're not quite sure how to navigate something within your MyNova account, there are various tutorials that are available to you. And then lastly, again, my name is Lacey Fonts, and I am the dual enrollment coordinator that supports Prince William County Schools. So if you are interested in earning a certificate or an associate's degree, again, I'm more than happy to sit down and walk through that with you. I would ask that if you're looking to take classes solely within the walls of your high school, work with your high school counselor first. But if you need a greater planning appointment to kind of look at how to do all of it, I'm more than happy to set up an appointment to talk through some of that with you. And this is where I know Miss Brown has been typing furiously over there. So I am going to see where we landed and if there are any questions I can help answer. But also, again, I'd love to thank you for your time and taking the chance to listen and learn more tonight.
Yep. So as of right now, we don't have any open questions. There was a great question that was asked that I do want to make sure that everybody hears. Dual enrollment offerings vary by each school. Because of the credentialing, because of student interest, they do vary by each school. So there is information in our course catalog, which is catalog.pwcs.edu, that will walk through what courses are available at each of the high schools. So that is a great opportunity for you there as well. And then there's another question regarding the difference between dual enrollment and AP classes. I'm often asked, and I'm sure Ms. Founce is also asked, which one is better? Which one do I want? It really and truly is up to you. Both of them are considered advanced academic courses. Both of them offer you opportunities to get college credit. It really just depends on what works for you as a student. And it also depends on what works for you as far as in your school, what courses you have offered. If you're really into biology, but your school does not offer dual enrollment biology, you might want to look at, you might want to look at AP biology. And vice versa. If you're loving your math and you want to take AP calculus, but your school doesn't have it, then you can go over to a dual enrollment calculus if that's what's available at your school. The big difference with dual enrollment and AP classes is your dual enrollment class, the grade you get from the NOVA side at the end of the course or at the end of the semester, that is the grade on your transcript. So if you earn a B is on your transcript. For your AP courses, you are taking the test at the end of the course. You're going to use that score and that will transfer over. It does not mean that that's going to be part of your GPA. It just means that they are giving you credit for that particular course. Okay. PWC homeschooling students, they can take dual enrollment classes through Prince William County Schools. Every homeschooling student is allowed to take up to 2 classes at their high school. So these are 2 classes that you are able to take as well. See if we have help. In a dual enrollment course, does the grade count for your college GPA and your high school GPA? Yes and no. So with the 2 grade books, your NOVA grade book is going to count towards your college GPA, and your Prince William County grade book is going to count towards your Prince William County grade. So say there's a situation where you've missed assignments or whatnot, NOVA is going to give you the 0 based on their late work policy, but you might be able to have remediation or a retake in your Prince William grade. So in that case, those grades would be different. The college grade is going to go on your college transcript. The Prince William grade will go on your Prince William transcript. We did have a session covering advanced academics in Prince William County Schools. I believe that session was back in December, and you should be able to go to the Family Engagement Series website, and there is a recording, and you get to see me yet again in another webinar. So we do have that available for you as well. The grades that will go to the colleges, that's a great question. Your college transcript will be the grade that goes to college with you. Okay. They still will look at your high school transcript and all of those things. But if you were to take a NOVA course and you get a B, that B goes on your transcript to UVA or Virginia Tech or George Mason or anywhere else you might go. Sophomore homeschoolers can take dual enrollment classes. However, they need to make sure that they're working with their school counselor to determine what classes are available for contract dual enrollment. And they will need to have a 3.5 or higher or appropriate test scores. Miss Bounce, I got a good question for you.
Yes.
It was mentioned that dual enrollment courses are not structured to a test. So how is the class structured? Is it based solely on assignments? What does that look like?
Sure. So great question. So it depends on the subject and the instructor. Generally speaking, our DE instructors work with the instructors that also teach at NOVA so that the division is consistent in how they're offering classes. So great example is I was working with a new government instructor today. And so the government class is really project-based learning, focusing on critical thinking. But, obviously in your composition classes, you are going to have more writing assignments than maybe you would in your project-based learning government class. So one of the bigger differences in terms of, teaching to the test and being able to test with AP, and I don't say that to down AP, just the difference. But one of the bigger differences is that you are earning your grade as you go along with the various assignments. So it may be that you have a couple projects, that you have some quizzes, some tests, some discussion boards. It's going to vary depending on the course, truth be told. But let me say too, though, for each class, you will have a syllabus. So each class is going to have a syllabus that is provided at the beginning of each class that outlines how you will be graded, what the assignments may be, the due dates. So all of that will be provided to you up front. And again, if you see it and you go, maybe not, this is not for me, or maybe this is not exactly what I was hoping for, then you are able to adjust your schedule early on in the semester. But again, all of that will be available just as if you were taking the class at Nova on one of our campuses. Everyone that takes a college class gets a syllabus, and that is the contract for your class that outlines how you can earn your grade, what you need to do to earn your grade, etc.
Thank you for that. And then can you clarify one more time the GPAs? And I believe the GPAs go no matter what type of dual enrollment, whether it's a contract dual enrollment, an early online college, independent, those, I believe the GPAs are the same, correct?
Yes, unless I'm
Okay.
misunderstanding. So all of the classes are going to be counted towards the college transcript. So there isn't anything you can take as a dual enrollment student that won't.
Sorry, nope, I meant the GPAs needed for the students.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. Yes. So the GPA is needed. That's correct. So the requirement to take the only difference and what comes up sometimes is for the early online college classes and for Jumpstart to Nova, we don't have any CTE classes. So for those opportunities, you have to have that 3.0 GPA or one of those test scores because we don't offer any classes in the CTE area. So the 3.0 is what would be the minimum.
Okay, last question. It's a great question to end on. Does contract dual enrollment, oh, sorry, there's a couple more. Does contract dual enrollment cost tuition?
No, that's the greatest thing about contract dual enrollment is it is completely free.
Okay. And then another question, if my child took AP classes in 9th or 10th grade, does
Mhm.
that impact the dual enrollment process when he's eligible to earn or to enroll? Or is that effort no longer applicable?
It does not impact eligibility for dual enrollment. So it's solely based on GPA or test scores or placement tests. We would not look at the transcript otherwise, unless we're looking at basically math courses, whether it was AP math or not AP math, for a prerequisite.
Yep, and oftentimes your counselors will advise you as you're going through the process. Sometimes we'll have an AP course where we don't have a dual enrollment course, and the student might earn credit that way. And so your counselors will help you navigate some of those pieces as well. Ms. Huff, I think we're turning it back to you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank our presenters for this evening. Miss Jeanette will send up a follow-up email with the resources for tonight's presentation. I've placed the survey for the presentation in the chat. Please take the time to fill out the survey and let us know what you think. We appreciate and value your feedback. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thanks, everybody.